Hello, I'm Lorenzo and welcome back to A Mission a Day. Today we're at mission 38 and we're continuing our exploration of the Joule system. Strictly speaking, it's probably not mission 38 per se, but these large missions have to be split up in chunks, otherwise I'm recording the whole day, which much as I'd love to do that is not something I'm able to do. So, we're currently focused on the Vol Explorer 2, which is our unmanned lander that will supplement the crew of the Vol station. That's now the interplanetary ship, that's now actually a Vol station again. We are headed for a Joule periapsis of 35,000 kilometers. That's fine, we can leave that as is for now. Important here is that it's happening in 97 days. That will give us 97, or let's put it at 90 days, to explore the Joule system with our station crew. So let's see if we can't find them and actually load up that ship. Tabbing through the different planets here to focus on Vol, which is what our station is in orbit around. We did that yesterday and we're very happy with that. So we're going to switch to the Vol station. We will eat the frame rate drop that this big station will cause the game to suffer and display at low frames per second. Ironically, when patch 0.23 will be released, that is when this will be improved, but then by then we will be more or less done with it, so we will not reap the benefits of that. Instead, what we are doing today, we will detach our ion powered probe here and use that to explore the Joule system. So we are going to find the undock control. Let's see where that's at. Where is the docking port here? Decouple the node. So we have undocked the satellite, we will switch to it, and first order of the day is to bring up the resources tab. We have full tank of xenon gas and some batteries. We have the radioisotope thermal generator, so we never completely run out of power, but of course we also have a lot of solar panels. So let's deploy them first and then look at activating the engine. Because as you might know, ion engines are very power hungry, and that's why we brought a lot of power generating ability. What we are going to do is visit all of the moons here in the Julian system, and we can continue until we have a mission elapsed time of 85 to 90 days, because then our unmanned lander is will be entering the system and will require our attention. So before that though, we can use this unmanned probe to do some exploration. That should give us plenty of time to do that. Finding all the panels now, which is difficult. Let's see where. Here's the last one, and that should give us quite a lot of power generating ability. We have 4 and then 2. We have about 10 panels, I think. Can't even be sure if I found them all, but first things first, we have to flip around because we don't want to crash into the station. We would do so gently because the ion thrusters don't really have that much thrust, but we still don't want to do it. So, pointing retrograde, we will lower our apoapsis around Vol a little bit, but most important is we will be getting away from the station, and the engine is not activated. So let's activate that engine. Here we go. We have the beautiful blue glow, and if we look at our power situation, we can see that it is dropping. So with all these solar panels, it's not the best, we are not in the best position to catch the sun's rays. We are using more power than we're generating, but not by a huge amount, so we should be able to get around this system no problem. First things first though, let's get away from the Vol station and get some of our frame rate back. What we have on the probe sorry about that. What we have on the probe is not a lot. We have batteries, we have xenon tanks, and we have power generation. A small docking port and a control module, not much else. So this really is a question. This is a situation where we will fly around the Joule system, take pictures of all the bodies there, and get our bearings a little bit. It's not designed to do anything else. What we do have is a gravioli scanner here, and we will of course be using that to log the gravity data over vol. Now this has been done by the space station already, but we can use it to check out the antenna, and that will probably work out fine. Look, the antenna here tucked away between the solar panels, that will serve to send our science data back home. So not a full suite of science equipment, but it is a start, and because of that we actually get some decent acceleration out of this ion drive. So the thrust is very low, it's half a newton, or is it, let's see, if we throttle up full, it's half a kilonewton. In the game it's rather more powerful than in real life. Still, that requires our ships, our probes to be lightweight. So we didn't bring a lot of stuff so that we would be able to get around. Going to time accelerate now to get away from the station, and here we go, we have some frame rate again. Look how smooth this game is. Amazing. I'm going to enjoy that. So let's have a look what we can visit first. I think we are going to go, well, I think I'm just going to decide we're going to visit the moons in a higher orbit first. And so first we are going to, let's just go for broke and go for pole immediately. That means we want to leave the sphere of influence this way so that our orbit becomes higher. Oh, we're doing it wrong, going the wrong way around. In that case we want to leave it here. Basically this works much the same as any interplanetary transfer, just on a smaller scale. We are doing it in Joule's system. We are not going to fine-tune it immediately, we are just going to put our apoapsis at the approximate altitude, then match up the inclinations and then see if we can get an encounter from here. So this will eat up quite a few of the days, but we have 90 of them, so that should not be a problem immediately. I'm going to perform this burn. It's 500 meters per second, which will be quite a lot even for the ion engine. I'm not going to subject you to 16 minutes of staring at a blue dot. I will do that myself, and I will see you when we are near, what's the name again? Near pole. Personally, I've never been near pole, so that will be a new picture. That's basically the format that this mission will take. We will snap different shots. We will snap shots at the different bodies of the Joule system. So see you at pole. Here we are. I've set up a rendezvous with pole, and I've learned that these moons are not so straightforward to rendezvous with as it appears. Here in the zoomed out view you can see this is Joule, this is pole, this is not a nice circle. Well, it might be a circle, but Joule is not in the center of it. So that complicates rendezvous a little bit. Our second objective, Bob, is rather inclined, so that adds not so much to the difficulty, but a lot to the delta V requirements. For now though, we're going to have a look at pole. I put the periapsis very low at 8,000 meters. I've never seen pole before, so I hope that's safe. But it should allow us to get some nice pictures and gravity scans of this little moon. Afterwards we're going to head on to Bob, and as I said, the delta V requirements are not low. This leads me to believe that our manned excursion module is certainly not going to be able to visit all of these. They might have to pick out one, and it's going to be one of these higher ones, because after their visit to a moon, I'm sending them plummeting into Joule to sample the atmosphere at 129 kilometers, as you may recall. For this I want them to have a little bit of extra speed, so they will make it out again. This ion probe will also attempt this. If it then becomes apparent that it's impossible to do that, then the manned ship is not going to do that. For now though, let's have a look at pole. We are entering its sphere of influence now, and our periapsis remains at a very low 9 kilometers. So let's have a look. Can we see that its sphere of influence is tiny? We are entering it at 800 kilometers away. That is smaller than the orbit of the moon around Kerbal. So this is a very, very tiny world indeed. We are going to pass it at about 700 meters per second. We will not establish orbit around it because that would well, basically be pointless. I am looking for the gravity sensor because this is data we have not had before. too far from object. The gravity is very low, quite negligible, and we are going to send a lot of science points home here. Let's do that twice, as we are wont to do. This will eat up most of our electricity, but no matter. We are looking at Pole as no one has done so before, or at least as I have not done before, as a non-trivial difference probably. I'm assuming someone will have done this before. Pole is like the Minmus of the Julian system, although Minmus is even larger than Pole. I'm gauging that by the sphere of influence. However, the sphere of influence is also determined by the gravity of the parent body, so I'm not quite confident that Pole is in fact larger or smaller than Minmus. At any rate, it's a very small moon, and that would make it ideal for a kethane mining and refueling station. However, in this system it's also in a hard to reach orbit, so that might be negated somewhat. If I'm going to be mining, I'm going to be mining on Vol, that's for sure. Let's time accelerate forward and get a closer look at, well, the close side of the moon. I'm not very well at eloquently speaking today. We are going to have a closer look at the moon. There. We are going to pass at 9 kilometers. I sincerely hope there is no mountains up that high, because we are probably not going to be able to maneuver out of the way with this ion engine. Let's have a look. Is our trajectory in fact still at 9 kilometers? It is. We are currently at 60, so we are losing altitude really quickly. I am going to disable the time warp now. It's probably going to go fast enough either way. Let's have another gravity scan. Still high in space. We of course want the scan to be done low in space as well, and I'm hoping that 9 kilometers will in fact count as low. Look, it's a very rocky world. It's hard to even call it circular while from this close. I suppose that makes sense. It's more like a super large asteroid than anything that resembles a world. Let's measure the gravity, shall we? Toggle the display. It's 0.1 meter per second squared at an altitude of 20 kilometers. That is positively tiny. So I think that should do. We are now in space near Pole. The sensors pick up multiple layers under the surface of the planet. Great. So there are multiple layers. That's good to know. And we are still plummeting towards it, locking that gravity data. Send it on home, send it on home. Something for the scientists to pore over. Great, great, great. I'm going to hide the UI so we can enjoy Pole in all of its splendor. It's crazy colored. I've not seen these colors on a world here in the Kerbal system before. And it looks like a cozy place to make a base or a hideout or put something. Look, there's Joule again. And I have a feeling we are gaining altitude. That was our low flyby. I have a feeling that 9 kilometers is probably safe, but if we had done something like 5, we could have hit a peak like that somewhere. So I'm happy we did it at 9. And we get a look at the mottled surface of Pole. Grainy, yellowy, reddish tints, greenish blue tints. It is a conundrum what this will be made of, but at least the gravity sensors detected several layers, so it's probably made of a lot of different stuff. So there we go, a nice picture. Goodbye Pole. I had not visited that before, and if you hadn't either, then now you had a look at this body. So on to more important things. Going to do one last gravity scan. If I can find the detector, always a challenge. Log the gravity data, send that on home. That's all the gravity science for Pole done. In the next update, point 23, we will get a science archives tab or a building or something where you can review what science you have done where, so that will be interesting. For now though, we don't have it and we just have to remember what we did. Right. I think the next target is going to be Bob. Let's put that as a target. And we can... Oh, that's great. Oh, well, that's stupid. I was gonna say we're fortunate that we're passing over the ascending node, of course, no matter your trajectory, there will be an ascending and a descending node. So not that fortunate, but this is the point where we will modify our trajectory. So we're going to match this inclination. That will be a sizable burn. If I think so, we have to change it by 10 degrees. So that is quite a lot of delta V. That will be hundreds of meters per second. Let's have a look there. It's not as much as I expected. It's about 300 to do that from there. Anyway, I'm going to go do that. I will see you around Bob, another body I've never visited, and we will ponder its existence and its meaning in the grand scheme of things in probably quite a few more days. We're currently at 7, almost 8 days in this mission timer, so we have 80 more days to explore the system. That should probably not be a problem. Great sentencing there. I will see you at Bob. And here, with our orbit nicely adjusted, just over 1,000 units of xenon gas left, we are coming up on a Bob encounter. From intermoonial space, I couldn't get the periapsis any lower than 180 kilometers. This is again a tiny moon, which I've not seen before. So when we get into the sphere of influence, we will first adjust our course to make it a nice low flyby. So we can do the same as we did with Paul and study this one close up. So reducing the time warp here, and wow, if possible, Bob is even smaller than Paul was. Now I know I can easily figure out all these numbers on the wiki page or on the forums, but I don't. It's nicer to discover it as we go along. So we can go for a low periapsis of 16 kilometers. Is that even actually 16? The line seems to be clipping into Bob. We're going to perform this burn at any rate, or at least a part of it, because it's 100 meters per second. And that will take a while with the ion engine. Let's see if we can find where... There it is! Small rocky Bob. So the engine is firing, lowering our periapsis. And let's here do some science if we can find the science box, blue science box. Where is it? That measurer of gravioli is here hidden. Orbiting Bob allows for scans of the varied surface. Interesting stuff. Great. Well, we're not orbiting, but we don't care. We care about the gravity readings. So have another go at that. And then I will time warp forwards to make this periapsis low and interesting instead of high and boring. So see you when that burn is complete. Right, so here we are. We finished the burn. Periapsis is now at 13 kilometers, but the line is clipping through the model. This worries me because that indicates that we could be headed for a catastrophe. So I'm going to alter the course so that at least this blue line is not intersecting the terrain. That's at an 18 kilometer periapsis, and we will see how that goes. So we're currently at 800 kilometers. I'm going to accelerate time. We did the gravity scan up high in space. We did that already, and now we are coming in for a low pass. Let's see, we are going to dip into the shade of Bob, and then we come out on the other side ready to see the sun again. So not quite as spectacular a view as we got from... Oh Jesus, I have enough of time acceleration now. This bump here is quite worrisome to me. Let's point straight up and fire the engine a little bit, because it would be a pity if we were to smash ourselves on this tiny asteroid. Or I suppose I should call it a moon, because it is a moon, but it is not very large. Let's have a look what the gravity is. It's 0.15 meter per second squared at 60 kilometers, so it's slightly bigger, or at least slightly more massive than Paul, but not by a huge margin. It's still really tiny. This is still in space, high over Bob. If 50 kilometers counts as high, what counts as low? Well, we're going to go down to about 20, so I'm definitely calling that as low. So here we are at 48. We can't really see what it's made of because, surprise, it's very, very dark. Fortunately, we are passing around it, or at least past it. Look, our trajectory is almost flat because it has such a low amount of gravity. I'm really interested to see if we are actually going to scrape that or not. Would be cool if we lost a solar panel. But that is some precision flying. Anyway, when we are on the other side, we will get to see the sunlit side of Bob. If we do lose this probe, it will be a pity, but it won't be the end of anything, so I'm daring to go this low. If we crash like this, it would be a little bit anticlimactic because we are not going to see that mountain approaching. Still counts as high? No way. 25 kilometers counting as high? Hell no, they're obviously not on board with me. If these people that designate this as high were here, they would not designate it as high. That's what I'm saying. So, we're coming up on our periapsis of 19 kilometers. And are we actually going to crash somewhere? That is the question. Oh, yes, we are. Yes, we are. Oh, shit. 19 kilometers. We have, so our astronomy predictions were wrong. The scientists that said 25 kilometers was definitely in space high over Bob. I'm not sure if they knew what they were talking about because we just crashed at 19.8 kilometers over median sea level altitude. We just crashed into it and we never got the low altitude science readings. So that's I was going to say a shortcut, but that mission there was cut short. Let's see. Yes, the Vol Station probe crashed into Bob. So we got to see Paul and Bob, and then we crashed into it. Very Kerbal way to end this probe. It had many kilometers per second of delta V left in it, none of which ended up being expended. Look, here we have Tiny Bob, claimer of satellites. So, let's see if we can't get back to the station. Well, the map view doesn't work after you've crashed apparently. So we are going to get back to the Vol Station to, well, do something else, I suppose, because our probe that was slated for many long continuous years of operation has crashed after the first 20 or so days. So not the best start of that mission. Let's have a look. Where is our station? Okay, go to the station tab. Orbiting Vol. Now, what we got to do, we didn't get to test whether a slingshot trajectory around Joule, dipping below the 130 kilometer mark, is actually survivable. Whether that will definitely drop one of these poor Kerbals into Joule forever or not. There are myriad possibilities. We have this excursion module here. It has a Rockomax 48-7S engine, and I've been thinking long and hard about this mission, and I think this engine does not provide enough delta V. Does not provide enough specific impulse to get the delta V we want. There is a solution for this. We could use one of the nuclear engines. We can detach that, attach it to the top of this vehicle and basically run it in reverse using the high ISP nuclear engine from the spacecraft here. The caveat for that is that we're probably not going to be able to attach this engine back because these segments here, they are not controllable by themselves and we have no way of course to attach to the nozzle. So if I detach this here, that's probably forever. That means that this station as a whole is not going back to Kerbin. I don't think that's a problem because these modules, this electricity module doesn't need to return. This module here carries a pilot, has a docking port behind it. We could dock to that and then fly home. Or what we could do is dock a nuclear engine to where the electricity station is and then fly the whole stack home. So with reusing these nuclear engines, we can get more efficiency, more mileage out of the fuel we have remaining. And it's not too much, it's 800 fuels and 900 oxidizers, which is about 2 of these large tanks. Sorry about that. First thing we're going to do though is fill up one of these small tanks, fill up this tank, and detach both and see if we can get them to sync up. So first things first, we will fill this. So this is now full, and then we are going to detach this docking port. So we now have a drifting nuclear engine. Wow, that's taking off. That's a problem already. Look at that, that's spinning out of control. I was hoping that would just gently float away, but it's not. Right, so now we have to move on and fill this tank. And then whoever is in here is going to have to undock, fly, and go get that nuclear engine. That will be difficult with all the spinning that's going on. So that's a challenge already. That tank is empty. Let's see if we can get some fuel from here. With this move, this station as a whole is not going anywhere, that's for sure. So we have, who is in here? Crew Bob. Bob is going to do it. He will undock. Go on, undock. Say goodbye to Bill. Bye, Bill. Undock from there. And there is the engine that we want to get, spinning away. It's not very good that it is spinning away. First things first is we are going to switch to the vessel that we're... Here we go. Stop spinning, you, god damn it. So first we're going to retract our solar panels, and then we're going to hunt for that nuclear engine. If all goes wrong, we can even leave that to drift off, because in our current projections we only need 2 more nuclear engines, one to eventually get back to Kerbin, and one to use today, but it would be a bit of a pity to just leave that drifting off, wouldn't it? I would think so. So we are going to retract these panels, and this thing will then start to fly. First we have to find the engine. Where is that? Perhaps we can set it as a target through here. No. The problem is it's probably classified as debris, so whether that would get an icon or a thingy. There it is. Doesn't need an icon or a thingy yet because it's still very close. So we're going to activate this engine. Here we go. And we are going to boost towards that nuclear engine that we want. Hello. With the loss of the probe, things are not looking too bright for this dual expedition, and Bob is now chasing a floating nuclear engine. Mission controllers did not anticipate this eventuality, but then again, they did not anticipate a lot of anything. We are successfully sort of rendezvousing with the engine, throttling up, and perhaps we can grab its docking port and at least use that as a target. Because the game might call that debris, I sure as hell don't. Right, here we are, we're going to... The plan now is to establish relative... to kill the relative velocity, and then Bob is going to go on an EVA to stop the rotation, and then we are going to attempt to reel that in. To reel in that... well, as soon as the rotation is stopped, it should be a piece of cake to dock to it. It's just that rotation has to stop. We didn't tell Bob anything about radiation hazards, so he is going to just grab a nuclear engine that has seen many hours of work and hopefully kill its rotation. So, yeah, that didn't really work. Go on, go on, go on. And still, we're still doing this in the vicinity of the station, which is killing our frames per second. But we don't care. I know I could just blip the time acceleration and stop it that way, but that feels a little bit cheaty. That's going to be a last resort. Is it now at least spinning slower? Are we accomplishing anything or not? I'm going to try and just be in the way when it comes around. And then thrust the other way. Yes, yes, we actually did it! We did it! Yes! Awesome. It's still tumbling ever so slowly, but I feel this is something we can grab with this little spaceship. And that would mean that we get to, well, we get to risk his life in the atmosphere of Jool, or fly past one of the, oh, now don't die here. We get to risk Bob's life in Jool's atmosphere, or at least fly by one of the asteroids, meaning Bob and Paul there. Let's finish a sentence. What I want to do with Bob here is to visit a few of the moons, possibly Tylo, possibly Lathe, possibly one of the ones I visited before, and get some crew reports, EVA reports from that vicinity, because that is something that we have not done yet, and that should give us some brand new science points. So, order of the day is to meet back up with this floating debris and somehow align the docking port with that docking port so that we can dock to the spinning engine. We are going fast, too fast, faster than I would have wanted. And there is now the risk of our engine exhaust actually spinning up that station more. Anyway, we are drifting now close to it. This is the point, I think, where we have to wait for the tumbling to match up with our desired attitude and then just kind of boot it in the direction of that docking port and connect it. So we are now waiting for the slow rotation of the engine to bring the docking port into alignment, and then we are going to, well, throttle up forward basically and attempt to attach that engine to the command pod, then turn around in the seat, reverse course, and use this as a nose. I think that sounds like a wonderful plan indeed. So, that engine is slowly coming around. Let's... Oh, this is going so fast. Well, 0.5 meters per second, so fast. We're coming up 8 meters. If we can manage to do this docking, this will be the first time I've docked with a rotating object. And let me tell you, that's not easy. Here we go, 2 more meters. And let the docking magnetism clamps do it. Grab that engine. We grabbed the nuclear engine. Great, we have a little bit of a weird craft, but that does not matter. We can shut down this engine here. Activate this engine. Oh, that is active. Let's see what happens if we throttle up. We have nuclear propulsion, ladies and gentlemen. We have nuclear propulsion for Bob Kerman to explore the system. We have 500 units of fuel. By far, he basically took all the fuel from the station. Well, that makes it important that he gets back, I suppose. We're using this fuel first, then this, and this will be almost the only fuel. This will be all the fuel that we can use, apart, of course, from what the unmanned lander is bringing with it. Now, what we're doing first is get away from the Val station so that we can get a decent amount of frames per second. Oh, look, can I control this from here? Or can I invert the controls or something? Crew report. Bam. In space high over Vol. That's a crew report we didn't have before. So let's go ahead and send that home. Great. We're getting a lot of science points. When we're done mucking about in the Julian system here, I'm going to visit the R&D station again, see what we can do science-wise, but I do think we have discovered most science things. So we could probably finish up the tree with all the science we're doing here, at least I hope so, and that could unlock a few parts that I hadn't thought about yet. So what I'm trying to do now is to reverse the control inputs, really, because we are of course now using our engine and thrusting in the opposite direction. Basically this is now forward where it used to be backwards, and well, if we can't adjust to that, then that will be a little bit of bending over backwards mentally to fly this thing. Oh great, I can control from the clampotron of the nuclear engine. It's in the middle, it's not quite on the nose, but it will at least get the directions right, so that helps. So we're getting away from the Val station now, so we should have good frame rate at least until that happens. Another bonus now of this assembly is that we have sort of a heat shield. I would think that the nuclear reactor is fairly resistant to heat, so we can aim this bit forwards when we're entering the Joule atmosphere, and it can absorb some of the heat, maybe. Just a thought, it might work out differently, but that's what I'm going to try at any rate. Well, we've run into a few problems today. Our probe crashed, the nuclear engine went spinning away when we detached it, but Bob managed to catch that. That was a pretty great piece of EVA rescue, if you ask me. Pretty good. And now we are all set to explore the Julian station with a high frame rate. Look at that, smooth as a baby's bottom, or silk, whatever you like. And we will do that tomorrow. So come back tomorrow to see how this cobbled together exploration craft with Bob Kerman in it gets on exploring the moons of Joule. We will go visit Lathe, we will go visit Tylo, and then we will dip into the atmosphere of Joule itself. So success is absolutely not guaranteed, but it should be an exciting mission nonetheless. Thanks for watching. I'm Lorenzo. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you tomorrow.